MSI has finally dropped off the Claw 8 AI Plus for us to review, sort of. This is an engineering sample. What does that mean for us? Well, it means that we don't really get to review the newest available model of the MSI Claw, but we do get a little bit of the insights into the brains of the crew building this. They actually, hint for what's coming in this video, they actually left the 16 gig RAM version on this board, meaning they wanted to have a 16 gig version of this device, and they realized, no, we'll sell a 32 gig version. So us, the consumers, were spared the torture of 16 gigabytes of RAM. And I do mean torture. We tried to benchmark this device. We could not. The games were horrible to play on 16 gigs. So if MSI in the future do decide to bring out a 16 gigabytes version, please do not buy it. Just save yourself the headache, get the 32 gigabytes version. But let's dig into the review of a handheld device, what makes them really nice, and why I think the Claw is up there with the best of the buys. First, let's take a look closer at its design and what's new and improved since the last generation's version. The most noticeable change is definitely the color. And let's just say it'll be a hit or a miss for most people. I personally love the tan color, but that might just be because I stay in South Africa and khaki is our color. Our Hiluxes are khaki, our clothes, they're khaki. Our houses, we paint them khaki. So this is fantastic, this is beautiful, I love it. Do you? Comment below. Continuing with the review. All of these buttons are really well thought out and sit perfectly within reach. After playing about, what is it? Probably a total of 36 hours of gameplay, I haven't found anything that I would change about layout, quite honest. There was this one thing though, the pinkies. So where the pinkies sit down here, it's just maybe me, and I spend a lot of time on my phone, so I have a little indent on my pinky right there. But I felt like where my pinky rests as I'm playing games, the little lip digs into the corner between my nail and my finger. But that's just me nitpicking. The rest of the device sits so comfortably in your hands. When you start to play games, the heat also doesn't really bother you where your hands lay. That was a major issue with some other handheld devices, so I have to mention it. At the back, you have two little buttons as well, and I have to say, usually it's quite a hit or miss when you buy fancy controllers where they have little back pedals to use. These sit so perfectly where you usually hold your device anyways that it's really comfortable and easy to use. I must say, when they designed the button layout and also the quality of the buttons and the joysticks they used, they went all out. These are all Hall effect, even the triggers are Hall effect, which is really nice. You'll avoid all of those drifting issues we used to have. And the design from the previous model to this one on the buttons did change slightly, but not massive. It's still very comfortable to use. I love the fact that they have a little bit of a rigid rim around them to help you when you get a little bit sweaty. It's really nice. There's one thing that they did change with the bumpers though, and that is they're more clicky. They used to feel like squishy, and now they're... And lastly, the D-pad. Now this is something that's both a win and a lose. They designed it to have a little hole, almost like a little bowl that you put your thumb into, which makes it nice for you to control and like stick to the corners and move it easily. But I did notice that it feels semi-sharp when you like touch it in certain angles. It's nitpicking. It really is nitpicking. It's fantastic, it's fine. I just have a very sensitive sensation sensor. That's a word, I promise. The Claw 8 comes with an 8-inch 1920 by 1200 120Hz touch screen panel. It's admittedly not the brightest, matching out at 500 nits. So if you're planning on taking this thing outside with you to go and touch grass, maybe just go and sit under a tree and play some games there. You'll need some shade. The screen itself does look great though. The color accuracy seems pretty solid overall, and it has a very good contrast to it. It's a nice bonus that it also supports variable refresh rates, so it cuts down on battery usage. If you run this thing on 120Hz 24/7, you're just not gonna have a lot of battery. Now, while the Claw 8 comes with an 8-inch screen, it does make the Claw 8 one of the largest handheld devices on the market, which is both a good and a bad thing. I don't think it's too big. I also don't think it's too small. It's kind of perfect. It's not a laptop yet, which is great, but it's also not a PSP. You remember how small those PSPs were? Damn, I'm old. I think it's similar to size in something like the Legion Go that we had a look at a few months ago as well. But if size does matter for you, then they actually released a 7-inch version as well, called the Claw 7, with basically the exact same hardware as this one. Now, speaking about hardware, let's dig into the gloriousness of the hardware. Now, as I mentioned, I have the 16 gigabytes version of RAM here, but the Claw 8 comes with 32 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM, a 1 terabyte PCIe Gen 4 NVMe SSD for storage, a nice large 80-watt-hour battery, and the powerhouse behind all of this, the Core Ultra 7258V, with integrated ARC 140V graphics, which as far as handhelds go is a pretty great chip. And thanks to its 8 ray tracing units, it can technically run real-time ray traced games. Technically. Now, while it may not be able to run Cyberpunk to its full potential, it will be more than enough to run even the newest game, although you will need to keep it in medium-low presets. Keep in mind, this is also a fully fledged out Windows device, like I said earlier. It is an i7. It's a full-on proper mobile PC. It's pretty dope. Now, this is where I'd usually speak about the performance of this device. However, with the lack of RAM in the engineering sample that we got, it just wouldn't be fair for me to say anything about the actual benchmarks we got, because I did notice that, for example, some games I tried to play was just not doing what they should be doing. And I checked out some of my friends' reviews on their Claw 8s. They got much better performances out of it. That's why I said, if they ever bring out a 16 gig RAM version of this, just don't go for it. All right, this is my top tip. Now, if you know this or not, I'll quickly explain it, but the RAM not being in here makes a big difference because the integrated graphics actually uses some of the RAM to make it process it better. So if you don't have that RAM available, and it's usually like 50% by the way, so if you have 16 gigabytes of RAM in here, then 8 gigabytes of it gets used for RAM purposes, and then 8 gigabytes of it gets used for integrated graphics purposes. All of the games I tried did run, and I did enjoy playing them, especially just on the form factor of the device. However, the frame rates weren't what I expected them to be, and that's just because I got the engineering sample. So let's rather look at things that I can actually review about this device. Quality of life changes. Other than the larger screen we get, which is beautiful, improved ergonomics and a larger battery, they've also added an extra Thunderbolt 4 port. This is a big quality of life upgrade because now you can charge the Claw and have an external SSD or screen connected without needing a whole extra multi-port hub docking station thing like we had with the previous version. The cooling system has 2 pretty decent sized fans that do a good job of keeping it cool, like I said earlier in the beginning of this video. The reason for that is not necessarily just the fact that the fans are pretty good. I also think it's the new Intel chip that they have in here. It's just more efficient, way more efficient than we had on the previous generation. What I think was very smart from MSI is they actually added quite a bit of their own software things into this version of the Claw. All of them accessible with shortcut keys. There's the main MSI Center M app where you can do things like quick launch games, adjust RGB effects, and switch between power modes. All of these things can be accessed by just hitting this little button right here. The other half of the software is the overlay side, which you can access by hitting this little button right here. It's basically just a quick way of adjusting the important things mid-game. Overall, I feel like the Claw 8 is super comfortable. While it's slightly on the heavy side, to be very honest, it's not too heavy to use. It doesn't feel uncomfortable in your hand. It's not awkward to hold. They've put a ton of work into the ergonomics of the new one. We love the idea of a handheld. We just hated the comfortability of the previous versions of all of the handhelds, to be quite honest. I know the tan color scheme isn't for everybody, but I love it. I don't know if you do. You can leave a comment down below and tell me. Perhaps even in the future, it would be really cool if MSI could use the same feature as they had with the controllers, where they can actually replace these things. But that's a good idea from MSI to give you like detachable little segments for this. It must be easy enough to do with little magnets underneath. Anyways, fantastic device. I wish I could have done some benchmarks on this, but that's my overall experience with the Claw 8 AI. I'm going to Computex in Taiwan in literally a month from now, where they'll probably showcase even cooler shit. So keep an eye out for that. Remember to subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers, bye. Oh, we're almost at 100,000 subscribers. For my plaque, please remember, please subscribe. Thanks. Goodbye.